Reporting.
Afternoon, everyone. Nice to see you all on the screen. Welcome to the meeting. First thing is apologies for absence.
Yeah, and apologies from the health board representatives, Chair. Nobody else.
I got one for Phil Flowers, who's tied up with a party appeal. Is there any disclosure of personal and prejudicial interest from members? Have everybody read the minutes from the last meeting? Who were there? Okay, we'll just go over that one. Right, it's approved. Is Melvin here?
He's just coming in.
Okay. Melvin. Oh. Melvin? You're on mute.
Right, I'm having issues. Can anybody hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Yeah. Nice to see you.
Thank you. Nice to see you guys.
Okay. So if you'd like to give a little outline of what you're doing.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me amongst the group today. My name's Mel Watts. I work for Elaborate Christian Care, which is a registered charity, and it's based in Salisbury but covers good stretch of southern England, North Wales and South Wales. And part of that is we've got a project running called Boots on the Ground, which is one of the ones that I head up here in South Wales. I've got a colleague who covers North Wales. As I say, it was established by Homes for Veterans, and the project supports veterans on their journey towards improved mental health and well-being, and it's community driven through new pathways and active engagement. So what does that essentially mean? It means we support veterans who've faced extreme challenges since leaving the services. And I believe my screen may have frozen. Can you still hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, I'm looking at myself and I'm in an unusual pose, which is frozen onto the screen. The scheme aims towards building self-esteem, resilience, and skills improvement through courses and training and development. We also take guys out on activities. For instance, last week we took guys overnight up the Brecon Beacons, and we stayed in a hostel, and we had a thoroughly good time. It gave the guys a chance to open up and chat about issues that they may be facing, some of those mental health issues, some of those practical issues that we may be able to assist with. So we work with organisations and groups in the local community, and we focus on a range of activities from workshops through to Veterans Breakfast Club, anything that we can get into sailing, fishing, horticulture. But we look at ways of funding courses, and all of this is done in alignment with the Armed Forces Covenant. So at the risk of waffling on, I hope that's given you a...
It's going all together now. So I think there were papers sent round. You sent them, didn't you, Gara? From Mel. So some of you might have read what what they do for the veterans. He might come back on, so it's not good me saying anybody got questions for him because he's not there. But if he comes back on, we'll talk about that after. So Betha? Betha,
I don't think she is, no, Chair.
all right. So another one gone then.
Back to it, is it?
Don't apologise, but she's gone. Okay, update from you. Hugh?
Hello.
Hello.
I was a little bit late then. Sorry, I do apologise. I have just come down from Cardiff. It's been a little bit of one of them days today, but I've been scribbling away, thinking what I'm going to say to you. So hello everyone. Good afternoon. Hugh Williams, Permanent Staff Admin Officer for 223 Transport Squadron down at the Grange. So what have we been up to? So a little bit of engagement with Ospreys Rugby. So on the 23rd of October, we went down to the Munster game there, which was a cracking result for the Ospreys. And we engaged pretty much with all the youngsters that were coming past. We set up our recruitment stand and also our inflatable rugby scoring game. So lots of freebies given out to the kids. They enjoyed it. They came back and forth quite often, the same ones. So, you know, if you don't ask, you don't get. So we told them to go on their merry way, some of them, because they were taking pretty much everything that we had on offer. Did we get any recruiting? No, we didn't. But this was more of an engagement event to show that the Army Reserve, you know, we are now back up and running again. And you know, it was something that we could do with Ospreys Rugby, which was good. We've been doing quite a bit of recruitment out and about. So our recruiting team, a really good initiative with Llandarcy College, just up the road. So we're engaging with them with a combined cadet association, a combined cadet force, should I say. So looking at helping them, putting one of our instructors in on a weekly basis on a Wednesday, and Private Lewis there, then he'll go through some military orientated subjects and that with them. And we've had quite a good return from College Cigar as well down at Llanelli, so outside our AO, but we're working in there as well. And we also had an event with I always get it wrong. I call it East Yest. So the Muslim Council. So they we engaged with them about 4 weeks ago. That was we're just waiting for the minutes to come out of that, because I think there's quite a bit of engagement that not necessarily in the Swansea area, but in the wider North Wales and Cardiff Newport area. I think we've got quite good links already down here, and it's working, but we can broaden that elsewhere. And then this week, you should all be aware. I was listening to the radio this morning. I was driving in, and they were saying that yes, Remembrance Sunday is this Sunday, but the poppy, the RBL are finding it quite difficult. Really, they've said uptake is quite low. So the poppy pots are not getting as much money as what they normally do. So if you do see a poppy seller out and you haven't bought one yet, if you could pop 50 pence or whatever into the poppy pot, that'd be great. But it was also be lovely to see people on Thursday, Armistice Day itself, so the 11th of November, and then Sunday, as lots of the internal sort of parades are all cancelled, but we're going up to Port Talbot. We are as a squadron, and because the festival is still on up at Port Talbot. So out to the cenotaph that is outside. So it'll be a march down the main street of Port Talbot. I think that commences about 10:30. So we've been asked by the cadets, can they tag along? So we bring in the Swansea cadets with us, and the Neath cadets are coming across as well. So there should be a good array of people in uniform. And then hopefully, you know, we can do Port Talbot proud, and have our boys and girls marching and showing themselves off there. So that's about all I've got to say what we are doing. We are looking at other activities. Pressure's been applied on us to recruit. But the big thing that we find is that we can recruit, we can get boys and girls in through the door, but then it's keeping them retained and moving them forward. So our driver training side of life is starting to take off a bit more now. And we're getting about 4 or 5 of our boys and girls through their Cat C, so their large goods vehicle driving license. So that starts from January onwards. So we'll take the boys and girls through that. And we've also been able to secure some funding as well for Cat B, so car licenses. So for our younger boys and girls, that's our hook really, to get the youngsters in, is that we can get them a car license. And that's going to start again from January as well. So our instructors and our examiners, they're up at the Defence School of Transport at the moment. So they've been taken off the unit they have and put into a central hub up in Leconfield. So we are delivering driving tests for DVSA at the moment. So civilian driving tests, the military examiners are doing those, and our instructors are up there as well assisting. So that's caused us a few issues, but we are moving in the right direction now, and from January onwards, hopefully you'll see more of us driving out and about. Pending any questions, that's the update from 223 Squadron.
Thank you, Hugh. That was a great report. Emma, do you got any questions for Hugh? I have. Why do you think you're not, when you get them in the door, why aren't they staying?
Well, that's what me and my main instructor, like I said, we've been to Cardiff this morning and come back, and that's what we were talking about, you know. And what happens is, because they new soldiers, they can't train with the already trained soldiers, so they've got to be chaperoned, and it becomes quite difficult, because my recruiting team, those are my chaperones on a weekend, so I can only employ them for 3 days a week. So I've got them out on a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, for example, into the colleges and up into the university doing their bits there. But then on a weekend activity, I've got to rob my recruiting to be able to take them out as chaperones on the weekend with the younger boys and girls. And because things are taking so long, there's such a backlog now in the training pipeline. So, for example, I've got 2 young girls, Cheryl and Megan. So they've come to us. They did their first mod course. It's 3 courses they've got to do to become a trained soldier. So they did their first mod course, but then the second mod course got cancelled because of COVID. But the first course is only valid for 3 months. So they've got to reset then and do the first course again. So it's all little teething problems like this that we are now trying to overcome. And fair play to them. They do get fed up. They do get bored waiting for the same thing over and over again. So that's what we're trying to overcome at the moment, and with lots of different engagement and trying to get other courses. You know, we could do this training previously from our reserve centre, but it's all been centralised. So we're trying to, you know, get a little bit of autonomy again, and for us to deliver it. But I think the powers that be are not going to allow us to do that.
Probably not. Thank you, Hugh.
That's okay. Thank you.
No questions? No. Item 7, it's the Swansea Bay University Health Board, but Steve Spill and Christine Morel unable to attend here today, so Gareth will circulate the reports after the meeting. That's okay?
I'm here as well, though.
Oh,
Victoria Williams from the Veterans NHS Wales.
Victoria,
I'm hiding quietly in the corner.
how are you? All right?
Good, yes, thank you. Yeah, good. Did you want me to do my bit?
Go on then. Yeah, please.
I will. So, Veterans NHS Wales, I say this every time, I'm going to say it again, we are busy. At the moment, we've got 16 people waiting for assessment. Partly that is due because people are not attending for their first appointment, being discharged and then coming straight back into the service. So we send them emails, we send them text messages, reminders, but it just seems to be a blip of what's happening at the moment. We've also got 18 people on our waiting list. So people have been waiting since the beginning of August now. So we're getting to people as fast as we can. We had our clinical network meeting last week, which is always very well attended. And I really like that meeting. It seems to be, it does exactly what it needs to. So it's a great way of people advertising what they're doing, and we make lots of connections of people noticing projects that they didn't know were available, and different people are linking up saying, oh, we need to have a chat afterwards. So it's always a good meeting. If anyone is interested in coming to that meeting, just drop me an email or happily invite them. Neil, I remember you coming to that meeting and that was really good for us. Sandy, we've seen you at that meeting before. That's always good. So yes, anyone that's interested, please come along. It's Armistice Day is coming up, so I have been in discussion and have done a little blog poem thing for a thing that they're putting together, which I think is a really nice thing to do. So for anyone that has served who works within the armed forces, that will be coming out hopefully this week. And I'm doing something for the Swansea based staff on Wednesday about veterans and the work that we do. More recently, we have been in contact with the Royal College of Psychiatrists for their quality network. So we're looking to audit ourselves. It's quite a lengthy process, but we are going to audit ourselves to look at our standards, to make sure we are meeting those standards, and to look for anything that we can do to improve what we do. And in the meeting last week, I did say to everyone, if you can think of anything that you think would help us to improve our service, please let us know. The other thing is I've recently finished my research on combat related PTSD. So that is hopefully when I can think about it again. I'm going to put that in for publication. And we are looking to, well, I'm going to be part of a randomised controlled trial on EMDR for PTSD, but we're going to be comparing people being seen face to face with people being seen virtually, and look at the evidence. Is there a difference? Do people get, is it more effective for people to be seen face to face or virtual, or does it not matter? I suspect it doesn't matter, but watch this space. And the risk of going on, I think that's all we've got to say from my bit today. Any questions?
Thank you, Victoria. Well done as always. Any questions for Victoria?
Going back on mute. Thank you.
Can I just ask a quick question? Did you get any of what I said?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, it was all fine. And then when I asked about questions, you'd gone. So
everything went pear-shaped. If you feel free to ask those questions again whenever you're ready. I apologise. It just went, everything went pear-shaped.
Okay, thank you, Mel. Anybody got questions for Mel? I think they have read your papers, so maybe somebody will contact you. But thanks for coming to this meeting, Mel.
It's a pleasure.
Item 8, Yasmin.
Hi all, am I okay to share my screen? I've just got like a quick presentation to run through just to give something a bit more visual.
As long as it's bilingual, yes.
Oh, I haven't got that far as getting it bilingual. That's okay, I'll just run through some updates. So I'll just tell you a little bit about our Armed Forces Friendly School status that we are in the process of launching at the moment. So we are aiming to embed good practice in our schools for supporting service children. We also want to create a positive environment and also further encourage the engagement with the Armed Forces community and SSE Cymru. So what we're going to have is a bronze, silver and gold status for the schools. And they will work through our SSE Cymru school list, which has got about 105 actions and activities that schools can take in order to embed that good practice. The benefit of us having the school checklist is that we can basically tailor to the school's needs. The schools can pick the actions that are most appropriate to them. And we'll also have sort of compulsory elements to them achieving that status. So they will need to identify their service children and a key member of staff within their school. They will also need to understand their service children's experiences. So we're delivering monthly CPD sessions anyway, but we'll continue to do that for our schools to develop their understanding of service children's experiences and their needs. And also we want them to engage. So that'll be with us as SSE Cymru and also with the Armed Forces community where that's appropriate. So that could be with the engagement teams where there's opportunity for the STEM activities or even, obstacle courses and things like that, whatever's the most appropriate capacity for them to be engaging with the Armed Forces community. So for schools to achieve their bronze status, they will need to achieve 40% of the checklist plus those compulsory elements. And then for silver, it'll be 60% of the school checklist. As well as that, it'll be actions from the Thriving Lives Toolkit, which we're due to launch along with the Skip Alliance in December. So that'll be auditing their current practice within their school. And then for gold, it'll be 80%, and they will also need to sort of look at embedding some of the principles from the Thriving Lives Toolkit. So there's been lots of information shared about that. Those of you that were at the Armed Forces in Wales conference will have seen the information we shared about the Armed Forces Friendly School status, and I'll also circulate these notes as well, if that's okay. In terms of our funding and where we're up to, obviously we do have the Welsh Government pot of funding for Wales. So last year there was £200,000 pot, and the same again this year. But in terms of the actions we took in Swansea, we allocated funding for schools basically to engage with SSE Cymru and develop their understanding of the experiences of service children. So we got through about 28% of the school visits. We are continuing to work through that in this new academic year and make sure that our schools are as up to date and they know who their service children are, so they can continue the work. We've had about 20% of those schools engage in the CPD training that we're running, and again that'll be something that we'll continue to push through on the next lot of funding round and the next academic year. But in general, I've been really lucky with the schools across Swansea. There's been really positive engagement, and lots of them are really keen to develop their understanding of the service children's experiences. So this year for Swansea, we've secured £8,500, and we are going to look at doing quite a few things here. So the service children will form part of the Vulnerable Learners Group for Education, which just basically means that we will have a session to talk about the service children, their experiences, allow schools the opportunity to share good practice together and just really encourage that collaborative working. We will also be delivering the Little Troopers wellbeing course. So we were lucky enough to secure funding through the Armed Forces Covenant across Wales for the Bringing Little Troopers to Wales project. So we will have the Little Troopers packs available to schools in Swansea, and this focuses on different elements of the armed forces lifestyle. So it covers things such as mobility, deployment and separation, as well as looking at identity, belonging and mindfulness for the children. So we'll give schools some funding just basically to support with the delivery of that, so they can again just really filter into the experience of service children. We will also be looking at working with our schools after they suggested a community event. So that's very much just a thought at the moment, but we want to provide an opportunity for our service children and maybe even their families to come together at some point later this year. But hopefully by the next time the forum meets, I'll be able to update you on what exactly, you know, the capacity of that meeting will be. And then I think finally we're going to look at doing some forces fitness sessions as well for our schools, which will just look at providing children the opportunity to work on their communication skills, their problem solving, building resilience and developing their team building skills. I've delivered or supported with these sessions being delivered in other local authorities, particularly Pembrokeshire, in the last academic year. And actually from speaking to my school colleagues, what they kind of said is the children had coped with the kind of virtual working world and they'd thrived academically, but they'd actually struggled with the communication and that kind of interaction with their peers. So I think that'll be a really positive thing to bring to the service children in Swansea. But I think that's everything from me in terms of what's going on with the service children. I'll obviously keep you posted with anything else through the forums, but I'm happy to take any questions if there is any.
Okay, Yasmin, thanks very much for the report. Any questions for Yasmin?
Yasmin, if you want to send me the slides, I'll circulate them after the meeting then.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, item 9, update from panel members. So if anybody would like to speak, Katie, would you like to say something short and sweet?
Yeah, thank you for having me on. I know Tom Sloan, Foundation Manager from Ospreys and the community, had spoken about in the squad and given you guys an overview, but I just want to come on and just say that we do have our second venue up and running in Meadowview, and then we have our existing venue in Britain Ferry. We have 8 people in Britain Ferry and 2 veterans in Meadowview, but it's really just to ask you all to continue to promote the project. If you have any veterans in mind that would benefit, that would be great.
Have you had any since I last spoke to you? Veterans from in Swansea?
So the first few weeks we didn't have anyone attending, and then we actually sent out a mass mail to our supporters from the Ospreys, and we had 2 veterans come along then, but nothing more since then.
And it may be because of what I said to you about the pips, and maybe that.
Yeah, I'm not too sure, to be quite honest, Wendy, but yeah.
They don't like to have photographs taken, so if you're going to use them as a poster, then I don't think they will. But hopefully now they might do. If they can't go for long walks, so they might come along now. So we'll keep plugging it.
Thank you, appreciate it. Thank you.
Any questions for Katie? Victoria?
Yep, my hand's up, thank you. Katie, I ask everybody that I assess if I think they'd be appropriate to go along to your meeting. I haven't managed to get anyone there yet. I asked someone this morning, for example, just to give you an idea. The PIP question was actually asked at our meeting last week when your colleague, Tom, was it, came?
Yeah, Tom Sloan.
That's it, I thought it was, yeah. And so what they said was it won't impact on people's PIP. So they don't have to worry, because we had someone from Department of Work and Pensions actually say it won't affect people's PIP, so that's absolutely fine.
Okay.
And that shouldn't be a barrier to come in.
Brilliant.
I will continue to try and get people to your group, because I think it's a great idea and it should be supported.
Thank you so much, Victoria.
Thanks, Victoria. That's really good, because those were the comments I had about veterans not going because of the PIPs, but they're entitled to exercise for mental health and whatever, injuries, whatever. It's good for them to. So thanks for that.
No problem at all.
Sandy? You mute, Sandy. Sandy, you mute.
Sorry, it's gone mute again on me. There we go. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Right, Victoria, hi. Long time no see. Do you have a name for that DWP person that said this?
I knew you were going to ask it. I want to say Gareth. Just bear with me 2 secs while I remember.
Yeah, can I just? Yeah, it's Gareth Thomas, I think it is, from Signatories.
Thank you very much. There we go.
Gareth Thomas.
Yeah, he's the veterans lead for the DWP.
Okay, that's great. Thank you.
I don't know if it's of any value, Katie, but I've spoken to and I've met with Gareth, who's coming along to some of our homes to have a look at what the guys, not particularly looking at what they get, but what they're missing out on. I went down to Britain Ferry to the last in the squad. I say the last one a couple of weeks back. I don't know if it's any value, if you get in touch with me after this and we can have a quick discussion as to whether I can get Gareth down there and we can have some kind of discussion about what it is that we expect from him and what we don't expect. So we've got quite firm guidelines. He's going to visit some of our places, and yeah, I've got kind of things I want and kind of things I don't want. So maybe we can superimpose that on what you're after.
Yeah, that would be brilliant. Thank you, Melvin.
No worries.
Thank you everyone for that. David Watkins.
Hello, Wendy. Thank you. Just got a quick question, Kate. We run sessions here in Newport for families and veterans. So that includes the partner, carer or service children. And we find it's a lot more successful when you take away those barriers to not being veteran only. Is that something you would consider further down the line? Because we are planning to open a veterans hub in Swansea, working with Tom Sloan on that and a few other people. But we are entirely for veterans, partners or carers and the service children, and we treat them as a singular unit. So be keen to see what the other groups think of that, and if there's any interest in taking that on board as well as us.
Yeah, thank you, David. To be quite honest, it's not something that we have kind of thought about or considered, but it's definitely something I can chat to Tom about and see what his thoughts would be. Yeah, I guess another one of our projects we would aim it at, like it's for older people within the community. It's called Sporting Memories, and that project is aimed at the person living with, you know, dementia or mental health difficulties and their carers. So I'm not too sure, to be quite honest, within the squad, but yeah, thank you. It's something to consider.
It's okay. Thank you. Thanks for your time, Kate.
Thanks.
Good. Has anybody else got any questions or would like to speak to somebody or? No? The leader announced that there would be funding for veterans, clubs, etc. So it's not quite finished yet, is it, Spencer?
We've got this fund that can be accessed for work in Swansea with veterans and veterans groups. What I'll do is we're going to finalise the application process this afternoon following this meeting, and then I'll send the application forms out if you can spread them amongst your community. It'll have to be a group that applies. You can't have individuals applying. But the pro forma will basically be anyone can apply for anything as long as it benefits veterans in Swansea.
Okay. Anything else? No? I think it'll be the shortest meeting on record. Sure now before we say goodbye? Thank you all for coming. I'm going to see you next time on the 17th of January.
Thanks, Wendy.
Okay.
Cheers.
Cheers all. Stay safe. Have a good